Hello, this is Christelle Martinet, and it's I guess Thursday morning in Rome. Thursday, the whatever. Let's see, the 19th, and we're coming up to the new moon weekend. But I wanted to scry, and I'll post it to both channels. It's for me 1 o'clock in the morning is bewitching time, and when people should be sleeping, and it's a really wonderful time. I've always, ever since I was a child, always had I stayed up till 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, just forced myself to stay up, and today I slept so much during the day, I had to make up for yesterday. I went to bed late, really late. So what I'm going to do here is use the time and see what we can see. I have to thank you all very much. Thank you for all of those who have written to me, offering their help in getting this streaming session off the ground, the show. A lot of people have talked about it as a show, and I really appreciate that. And I'll be working with that, and that will be coming up. I hope to get it off in the next 3 or 4 weeks, 3 weeks. Amethyst. Amethyst is one of the, like citrine. Citrine for me works the best, actually, but amethyst is also a very highly vibrational, has a high vibration gemstone crystal. As if the crystal is telling me, you can talk and talk and talk, but here we are. We're firmly planted with our feet here, and I feel belittled compared to what I'm seeing. There's as if what I can see is and what I can say actually is far less important than what I'm seeing. So I'll try to do my best here. I see an army, an army, one of people, one after another, in uniform, and they're going all in a row, and as if they're all going into one direction. And it's refreshing. It's as if, you when you listen to something, and when you hear something, when you see something, if I'm thinking of conformity, being a conformist or an anti-conformist. There is sort of safety in numbers. So when you see people all doing the same thing, there's sort of the sensation that you're part of a group. Okay, but then there's that anti-conformist feeling, and that is also another group. So in its anti-conformist way, you are conforming to a group. And this is what I'm seeing in this amethyst. Flanks of people singing the same song. I guess, I'm not sure if it's only me, but colleagues of mine, readers, other psychics, I regularly communicate with, there is a feeling that things are changing. There is a perspective, a shift in a paradigm shift in spiritual terms, and that may be played out, the idea of a paradigm shift, but it's inevitable. I mean, it's not inevitable, but it is very realistic, the idea of there being a paradigm shift, and how, we are all one, and I don't say that lightly, and I don't, someone wrote under my, and I'd like to thank her, about rhetoric, and everything we say, I'm exposing myself, everything I say is part of some kind of discourse. Her use of the word rhetoric, I would call it discourse, the discourse of psychics, the discourse of forgiveness, the discourse of, okay, it's a hegemonic and a power, the idea of power. So when there is a collective meaning about or around an abstract term, it does have, it gains in power. Now, this amethyst is pointing in a direction of uniformity. And it has its positive side. But again, every positive, of course, hides a negative. And in one respect, I feel that, Christelle Martinet, what are you trying to say tonight? I mean, you're here, and do you have any meaning or any message? Are you saying anything specific that people don't already know? And I ask myself that, of course. What compels you to do this, And I have to admit, it is the time of night, past 1 a.m. in the morning. It's almost 2 a.m. And the idea of sneaking into the night and being able to tune into the silence that's around you. I like that. I really like that. The citrine, where are you, citrine? The severe rigidity that characterizes a crystal, or that you can describe a crystal as being, very severe, pointed, jagged structures. Really, when you look at it in different shades of light, comes across as being so rounded and so smooth and so flexible and so malleable and so telling. This is the key is the conversation. And the light really jumps off of each other, these structures, these reflections, these surfaces that are that converse. They converse, and they're saying, it's a very friendly banter tonight, sort of saying, look, the full moons are coming up. Saturday and Sunday, we have still Thursday, we have Friday. Who's afraid of the moon? Who's afraid of the full moon? And that will be the topic of this, the theme, the title of my reading. Who's afraid of the full moon? 21st, 22nd of May. And, I'm reminded, it's the end of May, my God, it's the end of May. It is not the end of May. We have still many days before the end of May. And the different colors that are reflected don't seem that distinct, because what is given off by from the surfaces of these structures are, of course, it's light and it's reflected. And what I don't see is the different colors. It's as if you're seeing a crowd, and you see black people, yellow people, pink people, red people, and you don't see them as different. And this is what I'm seeing with this crystal, which is nice. It's a message of unity, not of conformity, but of oneness. Okay, fine. And this is a rhetoric of oneness, for those subscribers that talk in linguistics terms. And even the notion of rhetoric in the English language. Today, rhetoric has almost taken on a negative connotation. If we remove it from the Greeks and the idea of classical rhetoric, what I would call discourse, the discourse of politicians, the discourse of power, the discourse of volunteer work, the discourse, that section of language that is grouped together to perform a function. And here I'm seeing the crystal is performing the function of reflecting light from different colored surfaces, and the reflection is the same because the light is light. whether it is reflect from the dark parts, whether it's reflect from the light parts. The citrine is characterized by very dark yellow, almost, it looks like smoky quartz, and it is, I spent a lot of time with a shop owner in Rome who was describing a stone, a gem that I was interested in, and he told me that it began as amethyst, but then in time the amethyst does change color, and what we see is something that looks like smoky quartz. And what I see here is smoky quartz, and then almost as if it were crystal quartz, crystal clear. There's very many different shades, at least 10. And but that's not the difference that I'm seeing. I'm seeing the reflection, and the light is the same for all the colors, Sometimes, I get that question again today, more than other days. Why? Why? Why some days you feel the urgent need to communicate, and why other days you don't? Are we moved by a sense of communication, pure and simple, or are we moved by the need to understand? Today I spoke to a woman who and if you recognize yourself in this, what I'm saying, please don't take it as me singling you out. But she was saying to me, I came to you because I was wondering, is that all there is? Is that all there is? And that you can project into many different things. Very simply, you go to bed with someone, and you have a wonderful, emotional, passionate session, and in the end, you get up and you say, "Is that all there is? Is there something more?" And then you start to look under the surface, and you start to think, well, that's when our spirituality comes up, perhaps. And I found myself saying to this person, jokingly, this colleague of mine over the last couple of months has said to me, spirituality is something that older people get in contact with, because as you progress towards the end of your life, you latch on to, or you describe the end of your days in spiritual terms in order for you to prepare. Well, I think it's a little more than that, because I'm reminded of moments when we, for example, my children, okay, they grew up in a public Italian school environment, and where everyone takes communion and confirmation in the Catholic religion, and it just didn't go down with my family, okay, and the nucleus and the father of the children, and it was difficult. That was really difficult. Why was that difficult? It was difficult because latched onto that was, in the eyes of a 10-year-old, the parties around the event and the gifts that were given as part of that. And it was difficult for me to understand, to communicate that to my son at the time. Whereas one son just took it in strides, didn't care. The next, though, the second son had the questions, why, and then as years went by, he found his own form of spirituality, and but I really felt hard-pressed to offer him a tool, to tell him, okay, it's not only the gifts, it's not, but it was difficult at the moment, and I guess that is the brunt of conditioning, of traditions, and what is it that brings us to a communion of meanings? Why are we in this temple? Why are we together? Why do we break bread? Why am I clinking my glass, chin chin? Why am I raising my glass with you? Is it because the spirituality of communion brings us to rejoice in being together? And we can transpose those ideas to every walk of life, everything. You go to the library and you're looking for a book on politics and the history of the the Mason lodges in Italy. Okay, you go and you look for a book, and there's a process whereby you go and there are numbers, and you can use the computer or you can go to it depends on where the library is, and all through that process, there are connections that you have with the people in front of you, the librarians, the other people in the library with whom you discuss things. Every moment of that time can be described in a spiritual way. I prefer going to the library instead of looking at things online because I can make contact with a person who's around 70 years old in the library of that little town who will give me access to their take on how it was then. There's many different facets to that. And then the notion of spirituality takes on a completely different idea. What is spirituality then? And I'm trying to listen to myself, and I'm trying to think that it probably really is the idea that we are related, we are, linked to other people. There is that person who writes under my video and says, hey, I usually follow you and I really agree with you, but this time I don't agree with you. Oh, okay, that's fine. Thank you. They watched, I'm very thankful because I got some feedback. Or, look, just if I may, do you think that this probably, and it's contact. And of course, we all do recoil into our separate little cages that we create for ourselves, and the prisons that we build for ourselves. And but at the same time, we look out those windows and we see that there is a world beyond those cages that we create for ourselves. And it depends on how far you look out and how big those windows are. And that is a measure of what your level of spirituality will allow you in those moments. And I hate to, I'm thinking, I have to say that as I'm talking, I can see that I'm measuring, I'm talking, I'm drawing, I'm widening, and I'm, so it's tangible. It seems as if my description and my words are distinguishing something that you could touch. Instead, if you talk about the English language, the other day I was talking to a group of people, young people who have notoriously in this country, in many, in almost all countries, if you work with the English language, I always say, you could die before you understand how to use the article a, an, and the for the English language. If you're a foreign speaker of another language, if you have to study the English language, a, an, and the, you could die before you understand how to use the prepositions and how to use the articles. And we came to the notion of abstract nouns: love, charity, peace. You wouldn't say the peace, the love. And so it's just an abstract. And the idea of abstract is so understandable. And it was easy for me to explain that to them. And here too, bringing it back to us, spirituality. And you would never say the spirituality because it's such an abstract, almost as if it's a universal concept. When in truth it's not. Because you can talk to 10 people around you as you walk down your street, down your block, the people in your office, the people that you see every day, and they won't know what it means for them, that word, spirituality. And that's okay. It doesn't matter because we're pragmatic human beings. We're here in a third dimension, and we're paying our bills here, and that's okay. But some of us like to talk and understand, And then this takes me back to the woman I spoke to today, who said to me, is that all there is? Is that all there is? And when you go a little bit beyond that and you look at all the lights that's refracted from one side of this citrine to the other, and you see that it's light and it's not black and brown and yellow and white, and it is light, you start to ask yourself, what is that light? That light is in relation to the darkness. You know that the darkness, if you're understanding the darkness, it was, I'm going to free my hands because a very important notion came up the other day when I was talking to some colleagues, other psychics and readers, and we were discussing the notion of trying to get to the root of something. And they said, well, you really have to understand the dark side, the shadow side, in order for you to get a reflection of the light. And out of darkness comes light. It's they are two sides to the same coin. And that, ladies and gentlemen, for me is the essence of my sanity. If I can be reminded daily, day in and day out, that to every bright side there's the dark side, and that they work one next to the other, I can accept just about anything. And it's interesting this because I hear over and over again, even people who read for me, they say, you have to keep your boundaries up, you have to keep your boundaries up, you have to keep those, the points are coming up, you have to keep it up, because you need to define your boundaries in terms of then interacting with others. And it's a very difficult concept, this putting up your boundaries and then interacting with others. That is really, really difficult for many of us. I like the idea, I'm going to change crystals, I like the idea of, this is one of my favorite, this ferrous, I like the idea of refracted light on a very dark basis like this, or, oops, sorry, this is a very heavy one, my God, this is the heaviest crystal I have, heaviest gem. It has a beautiful feldspar. I'll see if I can get that for you. There, it's beautiful there. I like the notion of something so dark that nonetheless allows you penetration and allows you to see and receive visions here. And this is a very, very mysterious gem, a mysterious crystal that has sort of a kind of message that if you scry, when I scry, when I look at this, when I watch it, when I look and ask, because I ask, tell me, talk, what is it? What is it? Come on, tell me. And oftentimes I put it aside because I'm thinking, no, it doesn't want to talk. It's mute. Instead, it's as if I have to train my eyes to look differently at this, because it's not the same as that. It's different. And you need to look at every individual differently because the properties are different. You can't use the same eyes to see different things, But then again, we ask ourselves, but I only have these eyes. Well, the eyes can be trained. And the eyes can, eyes are very tricky. The sight is very tricky. I used to say, if I could be born again, I would like to be a lawyer. I feel that that's where I would really spend my best qualities. But then another is an optician or someone who works with the eyes, because I think it's fascinating how vision changes constantly. It's really, really interesting. And if I put these two together, I will not get the same messages, but what I do get is a conversation. And the conversation here talks of, it's as if I were looking at the Colosseum. You have the archways. Imagine that, the Colosseum, where you look and there's a certain part under those archways that's darker because you're at a distance. And so that's the unknown. but you can come close to each and every one of them. And then as you come close, their darkness is a little more illuminated. This is what I'm seeing. The closer you get, the lighter it becomes. The closer I get to the feldstar with the crystal quartz next to it, the lighter it becomes. There's a unique quality in the way we explain, in the way that we describe, and in the way that we actually see. I think it's just a quality of seeing that I have to believe, I really do have to say that the quality is, it shifts constantly, but the quality, if you can adapt your descriptions to what you're seeing, and you have to really slip and slide, shift quickly, you'll be rewarded, because what you see is constantly changing. And if you can embrace that change and be malleable enough to see that. But what's coming out of my mouth now is to maintain the hope of the newly emerging images. I feel that what you'll be able to see will be surprising, and it will surprise you. I think I'm going to have to stop at that and try to get to bed. Ladies and gentlemen, namaste. Pleasure for me to work with you. I'm putting this out both in my YouTube channel called Mystic Scrying Medium Christelle and my Christelle Martinet YouTube channel. And again, thank you for all of you who have written to me concerning the trying to go streaming in a couple of weeks. I really appreciate your help. Namaste, ladies and gentlemen. Till I scry again.